What is a vegan keto diet? The vegan keto diet is a type of feeding that does not involve the consumption of carbohydrate foods. It is mostly restricted to humans consuming plant-based foods. Vegan keto diet is highly rich in fats for a start, and it also combines the right amount of proteinous foods. Overall, vegan keto diet does not in any way have affiliations with any form of animal products. There is a list of macronutrients that is readily expected to be found in a vegan keto diet, and they are listed below. Fats, 55 to 60%. Proteins, 30 to 35%. Carbohydrates, 5 to 10%. Note that the figures above have been approximated to the nearest number. In a nutshell, vegan keto diet can be attributed as a type of diet that consists of low carbohydrate, considerably moderate protein, and high amounts of fat. What to expect from a diet like this is that there is a shift from the norm because the body is rarely making use of glucose as a form of energy. Instead, the body goes into a state known as ketosis, allowing your body to make use of fat and ketone substances as a means of energy. This process is carried out by the liver when the body has no source of glucose in the body as a result of taking keto diet. The liver in this process creates a ketone substance from the large amount of fats that are available in your body through vegan keto diet, and it is carried out in the absence of glucose in the body. A lot of people follow this type of diet whenever they intend to lose weight or body fat. However, people that feed on vegan keto diets are mostly known to make up for their fat intake by feeding on animal foods because they come with high protein and fat, but very minimal carbohydrates. Since these sets of people do not feed on animal products like fish, eggs, meat, and dairy, it is a must for them to feed on plant-based foods that are rich in fats before they can enter into a state of ketosis. Fructose, the sugar commonly found in fruits, agave nectar, and, somewhat infamously, high fructose corn syrup, among other foods, is processed by the liver, where it is either converted to glucose or sent to the bloodstream, where the above process takes place, or stored as fat, triglycerides, in the liver. Though a very small amount of fructose is converted to triglycerides, over time, consuming extremely excessive amounts of fructose can lead to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. While some people can go their entire lives burning glucose for fuel without issue, others have problems relying on glucose for energy. For starters, because the body can store only so much glycogen, you need to replenish those stores by eating often. You know that hangry feeling you get sometimes, read all the time? That's a byproduct of your blood sugar crashing in the absence of sugar. Mood swings and mood disorders are a surprisingly common side effect of blood sugar dysregulation. And if you are anything like me, you are already aware of this fact, as is any person who has ever lived with you. If you've heard of insulin resistance, then you are already aware of another potential issue with burning glucose as your primary source of energy. Over time, overconsumption of carbohydrates can cause your tissues to become less sensitive to the insulin that your pancreas releases. Because the same amount of insulin is no longer achieving the desired effect, your poor pancreas starts to produce more insulin, which just perpetuates this cycle. In the presence of insulin resistance, circulating glucose levels can remain too high, damaging tissues, keeping the body in a state of fat storage, and preventing the body from burning fat that has already been stored. Eventually, insulin resistance can lead to type 2 diabetes, other metabolic issues, and even cardiovascular disease. On the flip side of this equation, When there is too little circulating glucose in your bloodstream, the release of another hormone called glucagon is triggered. Glucagon tells your liver to convert that stored glycogen back to glucose for use as fuel. Glucagon also tells your body to break down stored fat into free fatty acids for use as fuel. Burning free fatty acids produces ketone bodies, which your brain and body can then use for energy. This is the beginning of nutritional ketosis. If you continue to restrict carbohydrates, your body will continue burning fat as its main fuel source. Now, something cool about ketone metabolism is that it cuts insulin out of the picture. Instead of fluctuating, insulin and blood sugar levels remain relatively stable. This stability curbs fat storage, reduces food cravings, and promotes the breakdown of body fat. This ease of fat loss and regulation of hunger signals is one of the main reasons so many people, myself included, find themselves sticking with ketogenic and low-carb diets. Benefits of vegan keto diet. Several health benefits are associated with vegan and ketogenic diets. However, no studies focus specifically on vegan keto diets. Following a vegan diet has been shown to lower the risk of chronic health conditions, such as heart disease, diabetes, and certain cancers. For example, studies have observed that vegans have a 75% lower risk of developing high blood pressure and up to a 78% lower risk of type 2 diabetes. What's more, vegans tend to weigh less than non-vegans, and those who adopt vegan diets are more successful at losing weight than people who eat animal products. A review of 12 studies found that over 18 weeks, people who followed vegan diets lost an average of 5.5 pounds, 2.52 kilograms, more than participants on non-vegetarian diets. Like the vegan diet, research has shown that following the high-fat, low-carb ketogenic diet may positively impact your health. The keto diet is well known for its effectiveness in weight loss, blood sugar control, and reduced heart disease risk factors. A study in 58 obese children and teens showed that participants following a ketogenic diet lost significantly more weight and fat mass than those on a low-calorie diet. In addition, the keto diet significantly raised levels of adiponectin, a protein involved in blood sugar regulation and fat metabolism. Higher levels of adiponectin have been associated with better blood sugar control, reduced inflammation, and a lower risk of obesity-related diseases, including heart disease. Ketogenic diets have also been shown to reduce heart disease risk factors, including high triglycerides, blood pressure, and bad LDL cholesterol. Being that both vegan and ketogenic diets may benefit your health in similar ways, it's likely that combining the two by following a vegan keto diet would positively impact health as well. Rules. Foods not to eat. When following a vegan keto diet, you must significantly reduce your carb intake and replace carbs with healthy fats and vegan sources of protein. Animal products including eggs, meat, poultry, dairy, and seafood are excluded on a vegan keto diet. Here are examples of foods that should be completely avoided. Meat and poultry: beef, turkey, chicken, pork. Dairy: milk, butter, yogurt. Eggs: egg whites and egg yolks. Seafood: fish, shrimp, clams, mussels. Animal-based ingredients: whey protein, honey, egg white protein. Here are examples of foods that should be significantly reduced. Grains and starches: cereal, bread, baked goods, rice, pasta, grains. Sugary drinks, sweet tea, soda, juice, smoothies, sports drinks, chocolate milk. Sweeteners, brown sugar, white sugar, agave, maple syrup. Starchy vegetables, potatoes, sweet potatoes, winter squash, beets, peas. Beans and legumes, black beans, chickpeas, kidney beans. Fruits. All fruits should be limited. However, small portions of certain fruits, like berries, are allowed. High-carb alcoholic beverages, beer, sweetened cocktails, wine. Low-fat diet foods. Low-fat foods tend to be high in added sugar. High-carb sauces and condiments, barbecue sauce, sweetened salad dressings, marinades. Highly processed foods. Limit packaged foods and increase whole, unprocessed foods. The level of carbohydrate restriction when following a vegan keto diet varies depending on your health goals and individual needs. In general, healthy, high-fat vegan foods and vegan protein sources should make up the majority of your diet. Rules. Foods you can eat. When following a vegan keto diet, it is important to focus on vegan, healthy foods that are high in fat and low in carbs. Foods to eat on a vegan keto diet include coconut products, full-fat coconut milk, coconut cream, unsweetened coconut. Oils, olive oil, nut oil, coconut oil, MCT oil, avocado oil. Nuts and seeds, almonds, Brazil nuts, walnuts, hemp seeds, chia seeds, macadamia nuts, pumpkin seeds. Nut and seed butter, peanut butter, almond butter, sunflower butter, cashew butter. Non-starchy vegetables, leafy greens, Brussels sprouts, zucchini, broccoli, cauliflower, peppers, mushrooms. Vegan protein sources, full-fat tofu, tempeh, vegan full-fat dairy, coconut yogurt, vegan butter, cashew cheese, vegan cream cheese. Avocados, whole avocados, guacamole. Berries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, and strawberries can be enjoyed in moderation. Condiments, nutritional yeast, fresh herbs, lemon juice, salt, pepper, spices. Though the keto diet cuts out many food groups that vegans rely on, such as whole grains and starchy vegetables, a vegan keto diet can be followed with careful planning. Vegan keto dieters should get their calories from whole, unprocessed foods while avoiding highly processed vegan foods. A 1-week vegan keto meal plan. Though the vegan keto diet may seem very restrictive, many meals can be constructed using vegan-friendly ingredients. Below is a sample menu for the vegan keto diet that you can try out for your weekdays. Monday, breakfast. Keto porridge made with full-fat coconut milk, ground flax seeds, chia seeds, and unsweetened shredded coconut. Lunch, vegan cream and low-carb vegetable soup. Dinner, cauliflower rice stir-fry with tofu. Tuesday, breakfast, tofu scramble with vegan cheese and avocado. Lunch, zucchini noodles with walnut pesto and vegan cheese. Dinner, vegan walnut chili with vegan cheese and sliced avocado. Wednesday, breakfast, chia pudding made with full-fat coconut milk, topped with sliced almonds. Lunch: creamy coconut and cauliflower soup. Dinner: shirataki noodles with mushrooms and vegan Alfredo sauce. Thursday: breakfast: full-fat coconut yogurt topped with nuts, seeds, and unsweetened shredded coconut. Lunch: tofu, vegetable, and coconut curry. Dinner: cauliflower crust pizza topped with non-starchy vegetables and vegan cheese. Friday: breakfast: tofu scramble with vegan cheese, mushrooms, and spinach. Lunch: vegetable and tofu salad with avocado dressing. Dinner: eggplant lasagna made with vegan cheese. Saturday: breakfast: vegan keto smoothie with full-fat coconut milk, almond butter, cocoa powder, and vegan protein powder. Lunch: vegetable and tofu salad with avocado dressing. Dinner: cauliflower fried rice. Sunday: breakfast: coconut almond chia pudding. Lunch: large green salad with tempeh avocado, vegan cheese, non-starchy vegetables, and pumpkin seeds. Dinner: vegan cauliflower mac and cheese. Vegan keto snacks. Try out these vegan-friendly snacks to help keep your appetite in check between meals. Sliced cucumber topped with vegan cream cheese. Coconut fat bombs, high-fat snacks made with coconut butter, coconut oil, and shredded coconut. Nut and coconut bars. Coconut milk and cocoa smoothie. Trail mix with mixed nuts, seeds, and unsweetened coconut. Dried coconut flakes. Roasted pumpkin seeds. Celery sticks topped with almond butter. Coconut milk yogurt topped with chopped almonds. Olives stuffed with vegan cheese. Guacamole and sliced bell pepper. Cauliflower tater tots. Coconut cream with berries. How to move from fasting to a wholesome diet. If you've embarked upon one of the many varieties of fasts where you take in little or no food for a stretch of time, at some point you'll eventually need to break your fast and begin eating again. Experts say you shouldn't let your hunger or cravings drive you, but rather go slowly and thoughtfully into what you eat first. When to break your fast. When you start eating again depends upon the fasting protocol you've taken on. If you're doing time-restricted feeding, many people choose to stop eating around 7 or 8 p.m., fast overnight, skip breakfast, and have their first meal around 11 a.m. or 12 p.m., at lunch essentially. Generally, you don't want to break a fast at night since you'll be using fewer calories as you head to bed. Go slow. No matter the kind of fast you've done, be it time-restricted feeding for some hours or a water fast for a day or more, it's most important that you ease back into eating so as not to overwhelm your digestion or undo some of the good effects you've achieved by fasting. A loaded cheeseburger might sound fantastic, but it probably won't feel so good going down. One expert recommends you halve the number of days you fasted and use that as a guide for reintroducing foods. So, if you fasted for 4 days, take 2 days to ease your way back into eating. Consider starting with broths and liquids for the first meal, and possibly the first day if you've been on a longer fast. The less sugar in these liquids, the better, as those can create bloating and digestive irritation. Once you introduce food, expect to gain back a certain amount of water weight due to adding back in some carbs and replenishing your glycogen stores. However, be sure to continue to drink lots of water as well. You might have become dehydrated while fasting, which is common if you don't stay on top of your fluid intake. Post-fasting is also not a great time to experiment with new foods or recipes you haven't tried before. Your body might not be prepared to properly digest these new foods, so it is best to first reintroduce something that is familiar to you to ease the transition. Wait until you are back into a normal eating routine to start experimenting with new foods. Gradually introduce foods. When you start eating again, choose foods that are low on the glycemic index, because too many carbs, especially carbohydrates that are easily digested and quickly absorbed, can spike insulin levels. One fasting expert recommends eggs, avocado, nuts, and spinach as good examples to introduce first. Another nutrition expert recommends that you start with soft-cooked foods like vegetables, since these are easier to digest. Slowly move up to foods with whole grains and high fiber, because too much of these after not eating can lead to constipation. Add in raw foods last, as these can irritate your digestive tract. When transitioning off a prolonged fast, it may be better to start with small servings and have no more than 500 calories per meal. This slow transition will help your body adapt to having higher amounts of nutrients again. In rare cases, people who have gone a long time without eating, usually more than 10 days, or who are malnourished prior to starting a fast, can be at higher risk of a dangerous condition known as refeeding syndrome. This is a potentially fatal syndrome that can occur due to shifts of fluid and electrolytes after macronutrients are too rapidly reintroduced into the body. As long as you are in good health going into your fast, transition slowly back to your normal diet, and are under the care of a health professional before, during, and after fasting, this is unlikely to occur. If you start craving sugar again after a fast and think you'll quell your sweet tooth with fruit, go carefully, particularly if you are fasting for weight loss or to balance your blood sugar. Even too much natural fructose can negatively impact insulin sensitivity. If you must eat fruit, choose those that are lower on the glycemic index and higher in fiber, such as berries, apples, or pears. To help overeating, have a plan in place for breaking your fast. For prolonged fasts, map out your meals for the week after your fast. Knowing what and how much you will be eating the days following your fast will help reduce your risk of binge eating and choosing poor quality foods. Meal planning apps or meal prep kits are great tools to help with this. Other considerations. A small portion of protein at your first meal, such as eggs or chicken, can be a good option, as they provide essential amino acids to help rebuild and repair the body. When you fast, growth pathways such as IGF-1 and mTOR are suppressed. Amino acids stimulate both of these, so once you reintroduce amino acids from protein sources post-fast, you then activate this beneficial growth period. What you eat isn't the only consideration after fasting. Another expert recommends you chew your food very thoroughly, as many as 30 times per bite, to make sure your food is easily digested. If you're anxious about digestion, consider adding in a probiotic, either in the form of a supplement or by eating foods that have naturally occurring probiotics in them, such as sauerkraut, miso, and when you feel ready for dairy, yogurt. Beyond just breaking your fast, also consider your overall eating habits. If fasting is your only answer to getting healthier, but you don't eat well the rest of the time, fasting is unlikely to give you the results you're seeking. What is insulin resistance, and how does it affect life? Before going into the details of what it means to have insulin resistance, it is important to have a little knowledge about insulin itself. Insulin is a hormone that is produced by the pancreas, and its major functions include the absorption of glucose by the body cells. Additionally, it helps the body to make good use of the glucose gotten from carbohydrates in diets. Although insulin is mostly implicated in blood sugar management, it also affects fat and protein metabolism. When you eat a meal that contains carbs, the amount of blood sugar in your bloodstream increases. The cells in your pancreas sense this increase and release insulin into your blood. Insulin then travels around your bloodstream, telling your cells to pick up sugar from your blood. This process results in reduced blood sugar levels. Especially high blood sugar can have toxic effects, causing severe harm and potentially leading to death if untreated. However, cells sometimes stop responding to insulin correctly. This is called insulin resistance. Under this condition, your pancreas produces even more insulin to lower your blood sugar levels. This leads to high insulin levels in your blood, termed hyperinsulinemia. Over time, your cells may become increasingly resistant to insulin, resulting in a rise in both insulin and blood sugar levels. Eventually, your pancreas may become damaged, leading to decreased insulin production. After blood sugar levels exceed a certain threshold, you may be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Insulin resistance is the main cause of this common disease that affects about 9% of people worldwide. After giving that brief introduction about insulin, next is to discuss the meaning of insulin resistance and how it affects life. Insulin resistance occurs when excess glucose in the blood reduces the ability of cells to absorb and use blood sugar for energy. This increases the risk of developing prediabetes and, eventually, type 2 diabetes. If the pancreas can make enough insulin to overcome the low rate of absorption, diabetes is less likely to develop, and blood glucose will stay within a healthy range. How does insulin resistance become diabetes? In a person with prediabetes, the pancreas works increasingly hard to release enough insulin to overcome the body's resistance and keep blood sugar levels down. Over time, the pancreas's ability to release insulin begins to decrease, which leads to the development of type 2 diabetes. Insulin resistance remains a major feature of type 2 diabetes. What are the causes of insulin resistance? Many factors contribute to insulin resistance, and one is believed to be increased levels of fat in your blood. Numerous studies show that high amounts of free fatty acids in your blood cause cells to stop responding properly to insulin. The main cause of elevated free fatty acids is eating too many calories and carrying excess body fat. In fact, overeating, weight gain, and obesity are all strongly associated with insulin. Visceral fat, the dangerous belly fat that accumulates around your organs, may release many free fatty acids into your blood, as well as inflammatory hormones that drive insulin resistance. Although this condition is more common among those with excess weight, people with low or normal weight are also susceptible. Other potential causes of insulin resistance include fructose. High fructose intake from added sugar, not fruit, has been linked to insulin resistance in both rats and humans. Inflammation. Increased oxidative stress and inflammation in your body may lead to this condition. Inactivity. Physical activity increases insulin sensitivity, while inactivity causes insulin resistance. Gut microbiota. Evidence suggests that a disruption in the bacterial environment in your gut can cause inflammation that exacerbates insulin resistance and other metabolic problems. What's more, various genetic and social factors may be contributors. Black, Hispanic, and Asian peoples are at particularly high risk. Development. Insulin is essential for regulating the amount of glucose that circulates in the bloodstream. It induces the cells to absorb glucose. Insulin is also the chemical messenger that instructs the liver to store some glucose, rather than releasing it into the bloodstream. The liver packages glucose for storage in the form of glycogen. Insulin usually helps the body maintain a good balance of energy, never allowing the level of blood glucose to spike for too long. The reasons for insulin resistance remain complex, and researchers continue to investigate. The following steps outline the medical community's current understanding of insulin resistance. The body's cells become less affected by insulin. This resistance initially causes the pancreas to secrete more insulin in order to maintain safe blood sugar levels. The pancreas becomes unable to maintain the release of extra insulin to compensate for the cell's increasing resistance. Constantly high levels of blood glucose develop, progressing into prediabetes and type 2 diabetes if a person does not adopt management strategies and receive treatment. What are the symptoms of insulin resistance? Insulin resistance does not usually present symptoms until diabetes develops. The CDC report that 90% of people with prediabetes are not aware that they have the condition. Insulin resistance can also lead to the following health issues. Acanthosis nigricans. This skin condition can develop in people with insulin resistance. It involves dark patches forming on the groin, armpits, and the back of the neck. Polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS. Insulin resistance can worsen the symptoms of PCOS, which can include irregular menstrual cycles, infertility, and periods that cause pain. Doctors also associate high levels of insulin in the blood with an increased risk of vascular diseases, such as heart disease, even without the presence of diabetes. What are the risk factors of insulin resistance? The following are risk factors for insulin resistance, prediabetes, and diabetes. Being overweight or having obesity, especially when the extra weight is around the midriff. A sedentary lifestyle, or one that is low in exercise. Smoking. Sleep issues. High blood pressure, which one 2018 study has linked to an increased risk of insulin resistance. Certain factors for prediabetes and diabetes are also risk factors for heart disease and other cardiovascular and cerebrovascular health conditions, such as stroke and heart disease. Because some of the risk factors are widespread and may be avoidable, such as obesity, health authorities are increasing their focus on lifestyle measures that can help reduce the risk of the disease. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services recommend that all people who are overweight and over 45 years of age receive testing for diabetes. Prediabetes is only a warning. Research, including that involving the landmark Diabetes Prevention Program, shows that lifestyle changes can reduce the risk of prediabetes progressing to diabetes by over 58%. Start taking steps today to reduce insulin resistance and the risk of diabetes. How to treat insulin resistance. To treat insulin resistance, you must find out if you have the symptoms already. The process will involve running diagnostic tests on the affected individual. Diagnostic process. Your doctor will use these things to diagnose insulin resistance. Questions. They'll want to know about your family's medical history. Physical exam. They'll weigh you and check your blood pressure. Blood tests. You might get fasting plasma glucose test. This test measures your blood sugar after you haven't eaten for at least 8 hours. Oral glucose tolerance test. First, you'll take the fasting glucose test. Then, you'll drink a sugary solution. 2 hours after that, you'll take another blood test. Hemoglobin A1C test. This blood test shows your average blood sugar level for the past 2 to 3 months. Doctors use it to diagnose prediabetes or diabetes. If you have diabetes, it helps show whether it's under control. You may need to take the test again to confirm the results. Insulin resistance can progress to type 2 diabetes. Here is how. When you have insulin resistance, your pancreas makes extra insulin to make up for it. For a while, this will work, and your blood sugar levels will stay normal. Over time, though, your pancreas won't be able to keep up. If you don't make changes in the way you eat and exercise, your blood sugar levels will rise until you have prediabetes. Your doctor will look for these blood test results. Fasting plasma glucose test, 100 to 125. Oral glucose tolerance test, 140 to 199 after the second test. A1C results of 5.7% to 6.4%. If you aren't able to manage prediabetes, you'll be diagnosed with type 2 diabetes when your test levels reach fasting plasma glucose test, 126 or higher. Oral glucose tolerance test, 200 or higher after the second test. A1C results of 6.5% or above. Treatment and prevention of insulin resistance. It is not possible to influence some risk factors for insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes, such as family history and genetic makeup. However, a person can take some steps to reduce the chances of becoming insulin resistant. Some of the same strategies are key to preventing heart disease and stroke. Also, the American Heart Association, AHA, report that individuals can reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes by making preventative lifestyle changes, primarily by losing weight and increasing physical activity. Muscles become more sensitive to insulin after exercise, and a person can reverse insulin resistance with an active, healthy lifestyle. While a diagnosis of insulin resistance or prediabetes might cause alarm, making rushed lifestyle changes and expecting immediate results is not a sustainable way to proceed. Instead, increase levels of physical activity gradually. Replace one item per meal with a healthful, low-carbohydrate option, and be sure to keep this up week after week. The most effective way to reduce insulin resistance is to make slow, sustainable changes. Exercise. Go for at least 30 minutes a day of moderate activity, like brisk walking, 5 or more days a week. If you're not active now, work up to that. Get to a healthy weight. If you're not sure what you should weigh or how to reach a weight loss goal, ask your doctor. You may also want to talk with a nutritionist and a certified personal trainer. Eat a healthy diet. Think fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, beans, fish, legumes, and other lean protein. Take medications. Your doctor may prescribe a medication called metformin, Fortamet, Glucopage, Glumetza, and Riomet to help keep your blood sugar in check. What are the complications of insulin resistance? Number 1. Severe high blood sugar. Number 2. Severe low blood sugar. Number 3. Heart attack. Number 4. Stroke. Number 5. Kidney disease. Number 6. Eye problems. Number 7. Cancer. And number 8. Alzheimer's disease. Insulin resistance diets. When it comes to preventing diabetes, your diet can make a big difference. And if you already have it, a diet change may help you manage it better. The right mix of foods keeps your insulin and blood sugar in check. When you have insulin resistance, that balance gets out of whack. It's harder for your body to burn foods for energy. When too much sugar builds up in your bloodstream, you may be on the path to type 2 prediabetes or diabetes, and that might lead you to an insulin resistance diet. Big picture goals. You don't need special foods for the insulin resistance diet. In a nutshell, you'll eat less unhealthy fat, sugar, meats, and processed starches, and more vegetables, fruits, whole grains, fish, and lean poultry. But it can be hard to change habits, so keep some simple tips in mind before you start. Adopt healthy habits. A crash diet won't help you. This is about changing your approach to food. Go slowly and build new habits that can become permanent. Maybe you can drink less sugary sodas or quit altogether. Make it work for you. You may enjoy different foods than what others like to eat. A diet needs to fit your taste buds and your lifestyle for you to stick with it. Most people need support along the way, so a good dietitian can be a big ally. Don't skip meals. You might think missing a meal means fewer calories and more weight loss. That just makes your insulin and blood sugar levels swing up and down, and that can lead to more belly fat, which makes your body more likely to resist insulin. Focus on calories and quality. The debate over the best mix of carbs, proteins, and fats has no clear answers. Your best bet is to watch your total calories and to really make them count. So skip the white rice and go whole grain instead. Mix it up. There is no magic food that'll fix everything, so vary what you eat. When you have a choice, choose the food with more vitamins, minerals, and fiber. What to eat. When you fix meals and snacks, here's what to aim for. Tons of vegetables. It's hard to go wrong here. Take dark green leafy vegetables like spinach. They're low in carbs and calories, and they're packed with nutrients so you can eat as much as you want. Fresh vegetables are best. If you go frozen or canned, make sure there's no added fat, salt, or sugar. Watch out for starchy vegetables like potatoes, peas, and corn. They have more carbs, so treat them more like grains and don't overdo it. Plenty of fruit. Packed with vitamins, minerals, and fiber, they're another great choice. Swap a fruit for sweets to tame your cravings. Add berries to plain, non-fat yogurt to make it into a dessert. Again, fresh is best. Make sure to avoid canned fruits with syrup added. And remember that fruits count as carbs. High fiber. When you eat more than 50 grams of fiber a day, it helps balance your blood sugar. Almonds, black beans, broccoli, lentils, and oatmeal are all rich in fiber. Limit carbs. You can eat carbs, but cut back on them and pick wisely. Go for carbs in fruits, veggies, whole grains, beans, and low-fat dairy instead of processed foods like white bread and pasta. Whole grains that haven't been turned into flour are even better. So for breakfast, choose oats over toast. Lean protein. You want to make sure to get enough protein, but not when it's loaded with fat. Limit beef, lamb, and pork, and stick with chicken or turkey without the skin. Fish, such as albacore tuna, sardines, and salmon. Low-fat cheese and egg whites. Proteins from plants like beans, lentils, and nut butters. Healthy fats. Swapping out saturated and trans fats for healthy ones can lower insulin resistance. That means less meat, full-fat dairy and butter, and more olive, sunflower, and sesame oils. Low-fat dairy. With low-fat milk and plain non-fat yogurt, you get calcium, protein, and fewer calories. Plus, several studies show that low-fat dairy lowers insulin resistance. If you're used to full fat, you can dial it down slowly. So maybe try 1% or 2% milk for a while before switching to skim. What to limit or avoid? Try your best to stay away from processed foods, which often have added sugar, fat, and salt. If it comes in cans, boxes, wrappers, and other packaging, it's probably processed. Saturated and trans fats, which can boost insulin resistance. These come mainly from animal sources such as meats and cheese, as well as foods fried in partially hydrogenated oils. Sweetened drinks like soda, fruit drinks, iced teas, and vitamin water, which can make you gain weight. How to regain my health after insulin resistance. Get more sleep. A good night's sleep is important for your health. In contrast, a lack of sleep can be harmful and increase your risk of infections, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. Several studies have also linked poor sleep to reduced insulin sensitivity. For example, one study in 9 healthy volunteers found that getting just 4 hours of sleep in one night reduced insulin sensitivity and the ability to regulate blood sugar, compared to getting 8.5 hours of sleep. Fortunately, catching up on lost sleep can reverse the effects of poor sleep on insulin resistance. Have lots of exercise. Regular exercise is one of the best ways to increase insulin sensitivity. It helps move sugar into the muscles for storage and promotes an immediate increase in insulin sensitivity, which lasts 2 to 48 hours, depending on the exercise. For example, one study found that 60 minutes of cycling on a machine at a moderate pace increased insulin sensitivity for 48 hours among healthy volunteers. Resistance training also helps increase insulin sensitivity. Many studies have found it increased insulin sensitivity among men and women with or without diabetes. For example, a study of overweight men with and without diabetes found that when participants performed resistance training over a 3-month period, their insulin sensitivity increased, independent of other factors like weight loss. While both aerobic and resistance training increase insulin sensitivity, combining both in your routine appears to be most effective. Reduce stress. Stress affects your body's ability to regulate blood sugar. It encourages the body to go into fight or flight mode, which stimulates the production of stress hormones like cortisol and glucagon. These hormones break down glycogen, a form of stored sugar, into glucose, which enters your bloodstream for your body to use as a quick source of energy. Unfortunately, ongoing stress keeps your stress hormone levels high, stimulating nutrient breakdown and increasing blood sugar. Stress hormones also make the body more insulin resistant. This prevents nutrients from being stored and makes them more available in the bloodstream to be used for energy. In fact, many studies have found that high levels of stress hormones reduce insulin sensitivity. This process may have been useful for our ancestors who needed extra energy to perform life-sustaining activities. However, for people today who are under chronic stress, reduced insulin sensitivity can be harmful. Activities like meditation, exercise, and sleep are great ways to help increase insulin sensitivity by reducing stress. Note: ongoing stress is linked to a greater risk of insulin resistance. Meditation, exercise, and sleep are great ways to help reduce stress. Lose a few pounds. Excess weight, especially in the belly area, reduces insulin sensitivity and increases the risk of type 2 diabetes. Belly fat can do this in many ways, such as making hormones that promote insulin resistance in the muscles and liver. Many studies support the link between higher amounts of belly fat and lower insulin sensitivity. Fortunately, losing weight is an effective way to lose belly fat and increase insulin sensitivity. It may also reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes if you have prediabetes. For example, a study at Johns Hopkins University found that people with prediabetes who lost 5 to 7% of their total weight over 6 months reduced their risk of type 2 diabetes by 54% for the next 3 years. Luckily, there are many ways to lose weight through diet, exercise, and lifestyle changes. Note: excess weight, particularly in the belly area, reduces insulin sensitivity. Weight loss may help increase insulin sensitivity and is linked to a lower risk of diabetes. Eat more soluble fiber. Fiber can be divided into two broad categories: soluble and insoluble. Insoluble fiber mostly acts as a bulking agent to help stool move through the bowels. Meanwhile, soluble fiber is responsible for many of fiber's associated benefits, like lowering cholesterol and reducing appetite. Several studies have found a link between high soluble fiber intake and increased insulin sensitivity. For example, a study in 264 women found that those who ate more soluble fiber had significantly lower levels of insulin resistance. Soluble fiber also helps feed the friendly bacteria in your gut, which have been linked to increased insulin sensitivity. Foods that are rich in soluble fiber include legumes, oatmeal, flax seeds, and vegetables like Brussels sprouts, and fruits like oranges. Note: eating soluble fiber has many health benefits and has been linked to increased insulin sensitivity. It also helps feed the friendly bacteria in your gut. Add more colorful fruit and vegetables to your diet. Not only are fruits and vegetables nutritious, they also provide powerful health-boosting effects. In particular, colorful fruits and vegetables are rich in plant compounds that have antioxidant properties. Antioxidants bind to and neutralize molecules called free radicals, which can cause harmful inflammation throughout the body. Many studies have found that eating a diet rich in plant compounds is linked to higher insulin sensitivity. When you're including fruit in your diet, stick to normal portion sizes and limit your intake to 2 pieces or less per sitting and 2 to 5 servings per day. Note: colorful fruits and vegetables are rich in plant compounds that help increase insulin sensitivity. Be careful not to eat too much fruit in a single sitting, as some types are high in sugar. Add herbs and spices to your cooking. Herbs and spices were used for their medicinal properties long before they were introduced into cooking. However, it wasn't until the past few decades that scientists began examining their health-promoting properties. Herbs and spices, including fenugreek, turmeric, ginger, and garlic, have shown promising results for increasing insulin sensitivity. Fenugreek seeds. They're high in soluble fiber, which helps make insulin more effective. Eating them whole, as an extract, or even baked into bread may help increase blood sugar control and insulin sensitivity. Turmeric contains an active compound called curcumin, which has strong antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties. It seems to increase insulin sensitivity by reducing free fatty acids and sugar in the blood. Ginger. This popular spice is linked to increased insulin sensitivity. Studies have found that its active component, gingerol, makes sugar receptors on muscle cells more available, increasing sugar uptake. Garlic. In animal studies, garlic has appeared to improve insulin secretion and have antioxidant properties that increase insulin sensitivity. These findings for herbs and spices are promising. However, most research in this area is recent and was conducted in animals. Human studies are needed to investigate whether herbs and spices do indeed increase insulin sensitivity. Note: garlic, fenugreek, turmeric, and ginger may help increase insulin sensitivity. The research behind them is recent, so more studies are needed before strong conclusions can be made. Add a pinch of cinnamon. Cinnamon is a tasty spice that's packed with plant compounds. It's also known for its ability to reduce blood sugar and increase insulin sensitivity. For example, one meta-analysis found consuming 1/2 to 3 teaspoons, 1 to 6 grams of cinnamon daily significantly reduced both short and long-term blood sugar levels. Studies suggest that cinnamon increases insulin sensitivity by helping receptors for glucose on muscle cells become more available and efficient at transporting sugar into the cells. Interestingly, some studies have found that cinnamon contains compounds that can mimic insulin and act directly on cells. Note: cinnamon could help increase insulin sensitivity by increasing glucose transport into cells, and may even mimic insulin to increase sugar uptake from the bloodstream. Drink more green tea. Green tea is an excellent beverage for your health. It's also a great choice for people with type 2 diabetes or those who are at risk of it. Several studies have found that drinking green tea can increase insulin sensitivity and reduce blood sugar. For example, an analysis of 17 studies investigated the effects of green tea on blood sugar and insulin sensitivity. It found that drinking green tea significantly reduced fasting blood sugar and increased insulin sensitivity. These beneficial effects of green tea could be due to its powerful antioxidant epigallocatechin galatate, EGCG, which many studies have found to increase insulin sensitivity. Note: drinking more green tea could help increase your insulin sensitivity and overall health. The increase in insulin sensitivity associated with green tea could be due to the antioxidant epigallocatechin galatate. Try apple cider vinegar. Vinegar is a versatile liquid. You can clean with it, or you can use it as an ingredient in foods, in addition to many other uses. It's also a key ingredient in apple cider vinegar, an extremely popular beverage in the natural health community. Vinegar could help increase insulin sensitivity by reducing blood sugar and improving the effectiveness of insulin. It also appears to delay the stomach from releasing food into the intestines, giving the body more time to absorb sugar into the bloodstream. One study found that consuming apple cider vinegar increased insulin sensitivity by 34% during a high-carb meal in people who were insulin resistant and by 19% in people with type 2 diabetes. Note: vinegar could help increase insulin sensitivity by improving insulin's effectiveness and delaying food release from the stomach to give insulin more time to act. Cut down on carbs. Carbs are the main stimulus that causes insulin blood levels to rise. When the body digests carbs into sugar and releases it into the blood, the pancreas releases insulin to transport the sugar from the blood into the cells. Reducing your carb intake could help increase insulin sensitivity. That's because high-carb diets tend to lead to spikes in blood sugar, which put more pressure on the pancreas to remove sugar from the blood. Spreading your carb intake evenly throughout the day is another way to increase insulin sensitivity. Eating smaller portions of carbs regularly throughout the day provides the blood with less sugar at each meal, making insulin's job easier. This is also supported with research showing that eating regularly benefits insulin sensitivity. The type of carbs you choose is also important. Low glycemic index, GI, carbs are the best. since they slow the release of sugar into the blood, giving insulin more time to work efficiently. Carb sources that are low GI include sweet potatoes, brown rice, quinoa, and some varieties of oatmeal. Note: eating fewer carbs, spreading your carb intake throughout the day, and choosing lower GI carbs are smart ways to increase insulin sensitivity. Avoid trans fats. If there's anything worth removing from your diet completely, it's artificial trans fats. Unlike other fats, they provide no health benefits and increase the risk of many diseases. Evidence on the effects of high trans fat intake on insulin resistance appears to be mixed. Some human studies have found it harmful, while others haven't. However, animal studies have provided strong evidence linking high trans fat intake to poor blood sugar control and insulin resistance. Because the findings are mixed for human studies, scientists can't clearly say that eating artificial trans fats increases insulin resistance. However, they are a risk factor for many other diseases, including diabetes, so they are worth avoiding. Foods that typically contain artificial trans fats include pies, donuts, and fried fast foods. Artificial trans fats are typically found in more processed foods. Fortunately, in 2015, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, declared trans fats unsafe to eat. It gave food manufacturers 3 years to either gradually remove trans fats from their food products or apply for special approval. Note: the link between artificial trans fats and insulin resistance is stronger in animal studies than human studies. Nevertheless, it's best to avoid them since they increase the risk of many other diseases. Reduce your intake of added sugars. There's a big difference between added sugars and natural sugars. Natural sugars are found in sources like plants and vegetables, both of which provide lots of other nutrients. Conversely, added sugars are found in more highly processed foods. The two main types of sugar added during the production process are high fructose corn syrup and table sugar, also known as sucrose. Both contain approximately 50% fructose. Many studies have found that higher intakes of fructose can increase insulin resistance among people with diabetes. The effects of fructose on insulin resistance also appear to affect people who don't have diabetes, as reported in an analysis of 29 studies, including a total of 1,005 normal and overweight or obese participants. The findings showed that consuming a lot of fructose over less than 60 days increased liver insulin resistance, independent of total calorie intake. Foods that contain lots of added sugar are also high in fructose. This includes candy, sugar-sweetened beverages, cakes, cookies, and pastries. Note: high intakes of fructose are linked to higher risk of insulin resistance. Foods that contain high amounts of added sugar are also high in fructose. Try a supplement. The idea of taking natural supplements to increase your insulin sensitivity is fairly new. Many different supplements may increase insulin sensitivity, but chromium, berberine, magnesium, and resveratrol are backed by the most consistent evidence. Chromium, a material involved in carb and fat metabolism. Studies have found that taking chromium picolinate supplements in doses of 200 to 1,000 mcg could improve the ability of insulin receptors to reduce blood sugar. Magnesium, a mineral that works with insulin receptors to store blood sugar. Studies have found that low blood magnesium is linked to insulin resistance. Taking magnesium may help increase insulin sensitivity. Berberine, a plant molecule extracted from a variety of herbs, including the plant berberis. Its effects on insulin are not exactly known, but some studies have found it increases insulin sensitivity and lowers blood sugar. Resveratrol, a polyphenol found in the skin of red grapes and other berries. It may increase insulin sensitivity, especially in those with type 2 diabetes, but its function is poorly understood. As with all supplements, there is a risk they may interact with your current medication. If you are ever unsure, it's best to check with your doctor before you start taking them. Note: chromium, berberine, and magnesium supplements are linked to increased insulin sensitivity. Resveratrol appears to increase insulin sensitivity, particularly among people with type 2 diabetes. How to get started on a ketogenic diet. Fortunately, you can tailor your approach by using one of the two main styles of keto dieting: tracking and lazy keto. You can use either method or switch between them as you like. I often combine the two, taking a lazy keto approach to which foods I choose to eat and then retroactively tracking them because I love analyzing information. This has definitely changed over time. When I first started out on keto, I kept track of only net carbs to make things as easy as possible for myself. A few weeks in, I began to track other macronutrients as well. After 5 or 6 months, I stopped tracking and embraced a lazy keto approach. And then, as I started blogging more frequently and creating meal plans, I got serious about my tracking game and started looking at both macronutrients and micronutrients. There is no need to tie yourself to one method over the other. Try out both approaches and see which works better for you. Keeping tracks. Within the realm of tracking, you can choose to focus on certain aspects, for example, macronutrient ratios or net carb goals, or go all out and track literally everything. There is no one right way to track what you eat. Tracking just carbohydrate intake. This is certainly the easiest approach to tracking what you eat on keto. I started out this way, and I find it to be the most user-friendly approach overall. Basically, you focus on tracking your net carbohydrate intake with the goal of keeping it under a certain limit. In the beginning, I set 20 grams of net carbs as my goal. I kept a running tally of the carbs I consumed throughout the day, without stressing about total calories, grams of protein, or percentage of fat. I did this for the first full week, until I had become accustomed to this new way of eating. Only then did I start to track other targets, like calories, protein, and fat. Having just one thing to worry about really helped me focus and kept keto from becoming too overwhelming. Was I eating a super balanced diet? Probably not, but balance was something I ironed out later. I definitely recommend this style of tracking for those who want to have some sort of goal, but aren't super excited about having to worry about balancing macronutrients. You don't need to download an app for tracking your carb intake, although you can use one. A simple notebook will do the trick. Benefits of high-intensity interval training. While most people know that physical activity is healthy, it's estimated that about 30% of people worldwide don't get enough. Unless you have a physically demanding job, a dedicated fitness routine is likely your best bet for getting active. Unfortunately, many people feel that they don't have enough time to exercise. If this sounds like you, it's time to try high-intensity interval training. High-intensity interval training is a broad term for workouts that involve short periods of intense exercise alternated with recovery periods. One of the biggest advantages of high-intensity interval training is that you can get maximal health benefits in minimal time. This article explains what high-intensity interval training is and examines 7 of its top health benefits. What is high-intensity interval training? High-intensity interval training involves short bursts of intense exercise alternated with low-intensity recovery periods. Interestingly, it is perhaps the most time-efficient way to exercise. Typically, a high-intensity interval training workout will range from 10 to 30 minutes in duration. Despite how short the workout is, it can produce health benefits similar to twice as much moderate intensity exercise. The actual activity being performed varies, but can include sprinting, biking, jump rope, or other body weight exercises. For example, a high-intensity interval training workout using a stationary exercise bike could consist of 30 seconds of cycling as fast as possible against high resistance, followed by several minutes of slow, easy cycling with low resistance. This would be considered one round or repetition of high-intensity interval training, and you would typically complete 4 to 6 repetitions in one workout. The specific amount of time you exercise and recover will vary based on the activity you choose and how intensely you are exercising. Regardless of how it is implemented, high-intensity intervals should involve short periods of vigorous exercise that make your heart rate speed up. Not only does high-intensity interval training provide the benefits of longer duration exercise in a much shorter amount of time, it may also provide some unique health benefits. High-intensity interval training can burn a lot of calories in a short amount of time. You can burn calories quickly using high-intensity interval training. One study compared the calories burned during 30 minutes of each high-intensity interval training, weight training, running, and biking. The researchers found that high-intensity interval training burned 25 to 30% more calories than the other forms of exercise. In this study, a high-intensity interval training repetition consisted of 20 seconds of maximal effort, followed by 40 seconds of rest. This means that the participants were actually only exercising for 1/3 of the time that the running and biking groups were. Although each workout session was 30 minutes long in this study, it is common for high-intensity interval training workouts to be much shorter than traditional exercise sessions. This is because high-intensity interval training allows you to burn about the same number of calories but spend less time exercising. Your metabolic rate is higher for hours after exercise. One of the ways high-intensity interval training helps you burn calories actually comes after you are done exercising. Several studies have demonstrated high-intensity interval training's impressive ability to increase your metabolic rate for hours after exercise. Some researchers have even found that high-intensity interval training increases your metabolism after exercise more so than jogging and weight training. In the same study, high-intensity interval training was also found to shift the body's metabolism toward using fat for energy rather than carbs. Another study showed that just 2 minutes of high-intensity interval training in the form of sprints increased metabolism over 24 hours as much as 30 minutes of running. It can help you lose fat. Studies have shown that high-intensity interval training can help you lose fat. One review looked at 13 experiments and 424 overweight and obese adults. Increasingly, it found that both high-intensity interval training and traditional moderate-intensity exercise can reduce body fat and waist circumference. Additionally, one study found that people performing high-intensity interval training 3 times per week for 20 minutes per session lost 4.4 pounds, or 2 kilograms, of body fat in 12 weeks, without any dietary changes. Perhaps more important was the 17% reduction in visceral fat, or the disease-promoting fat surrounding your internal organs. Several other studies also indicate that body fat can be reduced with high-intensity interval training, despite the relatively low time commitment. However, like other forms of exercise, high-intensity interval training may be most effective for fat loss in those who are overweight or obese. You might gain muscle using high-intensity interval training. In addition to helping with fat loss, high-intensity interval training could help increase muscle mass in certain people. However, the gain in muscle mass is primarily in the muscles being used the most, often the trunk and legs. Additionally, it's important to note that increases in muscle mass are more likely to occur in individuals who were less active to begin with. Some research in active individuals has failed to show higher muscle mass after high-intensity interval training. Weight training continues to be the gold standard form of exercise to increase muscle mass, but high-intensity intervals could support a small amount of muscle growth. High-intensity interval training can improve oxygen consumption. Oxygen consumption refers to your muscle's ability to use oxygen, and endurance training is typically used to improve your oxygen consumption. Traditionally, this consists of long sessions of continuous running or cycling at a steady rate. However, it appears that high-intensity interval training can produce the same benefits in a shorter amount of time. One study found that 5 weeks of high-intensity interval training workouts performed for 4 days per week for 20 minutes each session improved oxygen consumption by 9%. This was almost identical to the improvement in oxygen consumption in the other group in the study, who cycled continuously for 40 minutes per day, 4 days per week. Another study found that 8 weeks of exercising on the stationary bike using traditional exercise or high-intensity interval training increased oxygen consumption by about 25%. Once again, the total time exercising was much different between groups: 120 minutes per week for the traditional exercise versus only 60 minutes per week of high-intensity interval training. Additional studies also demonstrate that high-intensity interval training can improve oxygen consumption. It can reduce heart rate and blood pressure. High-intensity interval training may have important health benefits as well. A large amount of research indicates that it can reduce heart rate and blood pressure in overweight and obese individuals who often have high blood pressure. One study found that 8 weeks of high-intensity interval training on a stationary bike decreased blood pressure as much as traditional continuous endurance training in adults with high blood pressure. In this study, the endurance training group exercised 4 days per week for 30 minutes per day, but the high-intensity interval training group only exercised 3 times per week for 20 minutes per day. Some researchers have found that high-intensity interval training may even reduce blood pressure more than the frequently recommended moderate-intensity exercise. However, it appears that high-intensity exercise does not typically change blood pressure in normal weight individuals with normal blood pressure. Blood sugar can be reduced by high-intensity interval training. Blood sugar can be reduced by high-intensity interval training programs lasting less than 12 weeks. A summary of 50 different studies found that not only does high-intensity interval training reduce blood sugar, but it also improves insulin resistance more than traditional continuous exercise. Based on this information, it is possible that high-intensity exercise is particularly beneficial for those at risk for type 2 diabetes. In fact, some experiments specifically in individuals with type 2 diabetes have demonstrated the effectiveness of high-intensity interval training for improving blood sugar. However, research in healthy individuals indicates that high-intensity interval training may be able to improve insulin resistance even more than traditional continuous exercise. How to get started with high-intensity interval training. There are many ways to add high-intensity intervals to your exercise routine, so it isn't hard to get started. To begin, you just need to choose your activity: running, biking, jumping, etc. Then you can experiment with different durations of exercise and recovery, or how long you are performing intense exercise and how long you are recovering. Here are a few examples of high-intensity interval training workouts. Using a stationary bike, pedal as hard and as fast as possible for 30 seconds. Then pedal at a slow, easy pace for 2 to 4 minutes. Repeat this pattern for 15 to 30 minutes. After jogging to warm up, sprint as fast as you can for 15 seconds. Then walk or jog at a slow pace for 1 to 2 minutes. Repeat this pattern for 10 to 20 minutes. Perform jump squats as quickly as possible for 30 to 90 seconds. Then stand or walk for 30 to 90 seconds. Repeat this pattern for 10 to 20 minutes. While these examples can get you started, you should modify your own routine based on your own preferences.